Hey there guys, Shanahan back again with Academy FM. In today's video, we're going to touch base on using some Waves plugins to process this vocal. As you guys can see, I have a dry vocal from one of our sample packs here that I'm going to use. As always, get your vocals dry from your artists or vocalists that you're working with. You know, if they have a processing chain that you really like, also have them give you the wet version just to have, go back and forth. Maybe their version, works out better and you can use it. That's all up to you guys. I always ask for dry stems, of course, so I can do my processing. I have literally well over 50 processing chains, maybe more, on what I use for all my vocalists, because every vocalist is different, right? So I don't try to throw the same processing plugins on every vocalist. Same thing with mastering a track. I have a different master channel for every single track. Same idea. But today we're going to use Waves. Like I said, I think it's great plugins to use because I know a lot of people out there, producers, use a lot of Waves plugins, as you should. Top-notch stuff. I've used it forever. Outside of Universal Audio, that stuff also I use a lot. But let's just play the vocal real quick.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy? Up so high.
Okay, so we're going to start out with compression. And now the order that I'm going to do here is important. You do want to follow this order as far as the sequence of how the plugins are listed. Now you guys can mess around with the order. The reason of doing that is having it go through the compressor first, then going through anything else at the bottom, then going through maybe reverbs and delays. There is a purpose for the order of the plugins. So let's first start out going down here to Waves, and let's open up our 2A. This is what I use on the majority of my vocals if I'm doing any of the compression. I'm just leveling things out. I'm not trying to duck the vocal so far in the mix. I'm literally leveling any peaks, and you guys can see this vocal in the overview is relatively balanced. So this isn't going to do a crazy amount. It's just going to kind of keep everything balanced and maintained throughout. So we're just going to do a little peak reduction. Let's turn off the analog noise too.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
When I'm compressing in general with the vocal, I'm kind of maxing out, you could say, at a -3. I'm not trying to reduce much further than that, because that's when you'll get a squashed vocal. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to balance rather than squashing a vocal. So make sure you're really paying attention to the metering there and not going too far. Next thing I want to open up is a multiband compression. So we're going to open up the C4 from Waves. And this is a great kind of multiband processor that we can kind of go through certain frequencies and duck or add and do all that stuff. So what I do here is play it back and forth. And I've been doing vocals so long that now I know how to type things in. I can hear in my head that, okay, I need a dip in the 500 range, or I need more excitement in the top end range. So I usually type things in rather than moving around, because I know mathematically where I need vocals to either have more flavor or less, so I know how to enter stuff in here. So we're going to go with this and kind of just let it play and go through some stuff here.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy? Up so high, coming down with the gravity.
Okay, so I made my markers here, meaning the frequency spots that I want to cut or add or do anything like that. I just tightened up the Q there, tightened up everything. So usually I go through my low, mid, high right away, knowing where I want to do my frequency bands, my cuts. So that's what we're going to do with the multiband. Now we can go down to each section here and do any gain or reduction, anything like that. So let's start going with that.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy? Up so high, coming down.
Now the attack I usually want shorter, and you'll see in my mid-range I'm going to do a longer attack for it to take a longer time. My low mid-range, I'm generally going to do a longer release, as we can keep there, but a shorter attack. So we'll do kind of the same thing here. Let's just go with a 3 in that kind of mid-range, and we're going to do the longer release again. We'll just do like a 20, 21 range. And we're also doing a negative dip around 6. And you guys can see the pink that we're pushing down and then we'll go to maybe a 4 here.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
And you guys can see the metering. This is very useful, the orange. I now can squash down past that line. In other words, the threshold.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy? Up so high, coming down.
All right, so let's start attacking this mid-range. Let's go up here, and I'll do about a -6 again.
Moving out of focus.
And I'm going to do a longer release here in that mid-range. Let's go for like a 12 or 13.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
And I'm going to go a very short attack on the high end. You can look in that high end range. There's not a lot. I'm going to start pushing that up now. Let's go to like an 8, and we'll get that up there so we can hear that.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah.
I'm really going to compress, push the multiband down in that section. And let's go for a -6 again. And the knee, I'm going to switch to hard.
Moving out of focus.
And let's just check those two.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah.
It feels more balanced to me. And I know I say this in a lot of my videos, but it comes down to details, guys. Even if you're doing a 1%, 3% difference on certain vocals, it's going to make a night and day difference. Trust me, guys. I know sometimes you might be saying, well, I'm not hearing a major difference. That's not always the point. It's how you're setting up the channel strip for the rest of the plugins for them to perform well. So let's go to the next one and do a little bit of the Kramer tape I'm going to add on here.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy?
Now, when I put this on, when we go through our parameters, you're going to feel a little more of an overdriven feeling, almost towards distortion, but it's going to give a unique flair, an old school analog flair to it. Now, this says master tape, but I love breaking rules. I don't care if it says master. You can use this on vocals and utilize it as a tape modulation.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah.
I'm not going to put any flutter or wow on there. I don't need any noise. This is all set here, and I'm just going to set this up to about 20 on the feedback.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
So you can feel a little bit of a retro kind of old school sound to it.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah.
It's giving it a little reflection, you could say. But I like putting that on vocals because it can give a unique flair to it, right? So keep in mind what these are actually doing to adding value to the vocal. If it's not adding value and you're not liking it, it might not be the right taste for that vocal. This is always going to change per vocalist, right? So it's different every single time. Same as I said with my master channel strip. Same idea. Let's go to the CLA here. And now we'll start pushing more body out of the vocal.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah.
And that's obviously too bright there. So we're just going to bring down. We don't need the reverb. We don't need any of this here. Let's just shut all this off. I'm going to focus on just a little bit of compression here.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy?
So it's super bright now, and it's all going to depend on the genre, right? Remember what you're working in here. As I've said in my videos, I like brighter vocals because I'm more of a pop engineer. I work with a lot of pop dance vocalists, and those need to be brighter in the mix. So stuff like this can really brighten it up. But look at the main difference already.
Moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy?
So we're getting there. Let's now go down to just balancing this out, which I've used in a lot of my videos before. If we just throw the rider on there, very simple plugin. It's as if a vocal producer engineer was sitting there at the desk, kind of flipping the fader back and forth to make it even. Now today it's so easy to just throw this on and it'll keep it level as if it was a compressor, but it's just keeping the dB level really where it needs to be. It's not going to squash it. It's going to follow and ride the vocal and balance it out. It's very, very subtle.
You're moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
Okay, to close it off, let's throw a de-esser on there. I'm feeling a little sharp on the high end, so I'm going to just kind of quiet that down with this threshold here and just squash it.
You're moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
And really watch the attention there, how much you're kind of squashing and getting rid of. If you get kind of closing off the S's and sharp, notes too much, it can sound dull. So be a little bit minimal on what you're doing here with the threshold. You want to be subtle so that you're not kind of getting rid of the vocal. It's just kind of getting out that high end a little bit.
You're moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice that you became an enemy? Up so high, coming down with the gravity.
Okay, so that's sounding good to me already. Let's just close all this out and take a look at the A/B.
You're moving out of focus, taking up my energy.
So then if I were to let's do a bus send over to bus 3 and go down to waves. And if we wanted to this is where I would then do any reverbs or delays, because I don't generally want my reverb and delay on the same channel strip. I want to send amounts. Let's just take this one, for example, here.
You're moving out of focus.
Because you don't want the whole vocal just kind of having all this go and then reverb sitting on top of it. You're going to get a muddy signal. If you bus it, which is going to be very quiet, in other words, bus send, you're sending them out underneath the main processed vocal. Therefore, the vocal will still pop.
You're moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
All right, without everything.
You're moving out of focus, taking up my energy, yeah. How could I not notice?
All right, guys, so that is a few ways to use some Waves plugins. There's tons that are in there, and they're all amazing. They all have different characteristics and all, have a benefit to your records. But try this chain out in your vocals. Again, I'll say it one more time. This might not work on every single vocalist you're working with, right? So keep in mind that you have to change parameters due to who that female is or who that male is. It's going to be different every time. But this should benefit you guys. Check it out in your next track. Please let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you guys soon.